Welcome to Bitching and Moaning, the podcast where we talk shit, spill the tea, and say all the things you're definitely thinking about but shouldn't say out loud.
We're your hosts. I'm Stephanie with Patricia, and together we're your weekly dose of sass, laughs, and just the right amount of bad decisions.
From sexy stories to petty rants, nothing's off limits. So grab your wine or your drink of choice, loosen your morals, and let's get into it.
Because if we're not bitching,
we're probably moaning. Welcome to Bitching and Moaning. We are so excited to be with you today on this fall day.
It's actually cool here.
Cool.
Oh, I'm so happy to get my flannels out and stuff.
We're all in
so
our
excited.
cozy warmies today.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed the Halloween episode. If you watched it, it was fun to do. And I think we're going to switch the tables a little bit and talk about something a little more serious this episode. We hope you learn something and understand like where we're coming from. So, but before we go there, let's start with what we're drinking. What you got?
So I brought back my chocolate wine.
Oh, the morning wine.
It's so good. I figured based on our topic, I need something very warm and soothing. So I had this a couple weeks ago, but it's to die for. So this is a Rosso Nobile French wine.
Okay.
And I like the description, so of course I'm going to read it again. Two of life's greatest pleasures in one bottle, red wine and chocolate.
Man.
Has intense aromas of dark, ripe fruits, a hint of vanilla and cocoa.
Yummy.
The palate offers juicy strawberry, blackberry, and sweet, decadent chocolate. Delicious with your favorite dessert or on its own. Twice the seduction. So I don't know. That's
That's so funny.
I know this is such a great description. It's like I had to read it. So anyway,
That's funny.
but that's what I have today. My chocolate wine.
Sounds yummy.
Oh, it's good.
I went a little different today. It is cooler here today. I know for most of you, 50 is not cold, but for us in Texas, it's cold and windy. It was so windy today. So it really did feel like a nice fall day. And our topic today is going to be covering, some of our relatives, including my mom. And she was a big coffee lover because obviously we're Colombian. And so I decided to go with some coffee. However, I made it with a little kick. I put a little Bailey's in it just to get me all warmed up. So
Warm and fuzzy.
yes, some Bailey's liqueur, if you guys don't know what that is. But so that's what I went with today.
Alrighty.
So cheers.
Cheers.
Yummy. Oh, that's good.
I just need a minute. Okay, I've had my minute.
I have French vanilla in here, so it kind of tastes like a caramel candy. You know those? Remember those caramel candies that they were square and they stuck to your teeth and stuff?
and you're like,
That's what it tastes like. It's weird, but it's good.
So
All right. So you want to start?
yeah,
I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah, so I think this time of the year is hard for both of us.
Yes.
And goes into our topic about how we handle grief. Both my parents have passed away. My dad passed away in June of 2013, but my mom passed away on the 3rd of November in 2020. And so this time of the year is just a little difficult for that reason. And then just today found out that I have a family member whose mom passed away.
I'm so sorry.
So November's a little bit rough. So I want to talk about my parents, kind of what I went through, because I think even though you feel alone in grief, you're really not alone.
Yeah.
And you don't want to reach out because you do feel alone. And so I think just how we dealt with that, what we did to help us through, so I'm going to talk about my mom and my dad, and they were each I went through them differently. And so I'll talk about that as well. But my parents. And
Do you want to start with your dad? How that happened?
So my dad had Parkinson's, and I guess he was diagnosed about 7 years before he passed away. He had tremors and, just some little things and that were happening. And he got to the point where my mom couldn't take care of him anymore, and they moved into an assisted living place.
Okay.
And it was probably a couple years after that he ended up passing away. And I really think that when you found your soulmate, your person, that if you're separated from them, I think there's an awareness, even at a different state, mental state. And I think it causes them to go downhill quicker than if they're able to stay together.
I agree.
Yeah, because my mom and dad have been married since 1954. And so, really long time. They had never been apart. Once they got married, they always slept in the same bed. Everybody was on vacations together. They were just never apart. So when they moved to assisted living, my dad had to go to like a 1-bedroom that was downstairs from where my mom and dad were together, because they had to put rails on the bed and a lot of things to take care of him. And I really think once that move had to happen, that's when he started to go downhill quicker. And so I remember there was one time, but right before he moved into that room, with the Parkinson's, he got very stoic, and he would just sit there and just stare at you. And it's like I could tell he was still up here, but he couldn't verbalize. Because if anybody doesn't know, Parkinson's pretty much just kind of paralyzes you. It paralyzes your speaking. It's like you're losing your voice until you really don't have one. And then it's like you're sitting there, but you're not really alive, right?
Right. Yeah, my grandfather had Parkinson's, and it was like that too.
It's a hard thing to watch. It really is. So I remember going over to see him, and it's like some memories are ingrained in your mind forever. And I was sitting by my dad, and he used to have those Reader Digest magazines.
Oh, yeah.
And it had the big, thick print. So I just said, "Hey, Daddy, how about I read you something out of the Reader's Digest?" And, he couldn't really respond. He's sitting there. But I was reading, and I can see out of my peripheral vision, he was just intently looking at me, like he was trying to talk to me, And so that memory, I've held on to that, because it was like he was trying to communicate his love to me through his eyes or something. It was like I could just feel it. And so I remember that towards the end is one of the good moments where, I kind of take with me. And then as he went downhill and it came, I guess he held on for about 2 weeks before he passed.
Yeah.
And I really think he held on because I'm the youngest. Everybody else was pretty much married, and I really think he was worried about me the most because it was just me and my girls.
You're the youngest. Yeah.
I was the youngest, me and my girls. I was dating my now husband then, and we weren't quite on the track of getting married back then. And I had asked to be able to give my dad permission to let go.
Yeah.
To know I was going to be okay. I asked him, I said, "Is it okay if I tell my dad that you asked me to marry you? And I had somebody to take care of me." And he was like, "Of course."
Yeah.
And so I went in, and it was probably the day before he passed. And I sat there and just told him, I said, "Daddy," told him the story. And I said, "Daddy, it's fine. I'm going to be okay. And you can go. We're going to be okay." And then it wasn't too much longer after that. The 5 of us kids came in there. My older brother, named after my dad, said a prayer. Just, it was okay to go. And within hours, he was gone.
Oh, God. And look at that. Corey's your person.
Yeah, he's my
with
person.
Your hubby, and he's taking care of you like you promised your dad. So
and
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a very amazing moment. There were a lot of moments in that time of, my dad had, before, I guess, I don't want to say lost consciousness, but before, he was able to recognize or even be alert at any level. I just remember looking at him, and he was looking at me, and I told him I loved him, and he said it back. Aww. And so I got that moment, and then the rest of the time it was just, everything was about just looking at me. And I I could feel him speaking even though he couldn't, and it was just kind of glassy-eyed. Well,
it's nice that you at least got that time with him, you know, and were able to be together and say your goodbyes and stuff. Yeah, you know, that's really good.
I was glad I had that because, you know, I had other family members pass away, that aunts and, you know, my grandparents, my dad's parents passed away when I was in high school. And at that age, you don't, you know, you're busy with school or whatever. You don't really comprehend it or don't understand it. I wasn't close to them either. So my dad was the closest person to me to pass. And because of that, I didn't get angry. There's something they talk about. I didn't get angry. I went straight to depression. And I know you remember that time being around me. I pulled into myself. When we were at the funeral home, people were laughing and joking, and I was getting angry at people. I'm like, why are you laughing and talking about memories? My dad just died. And I told my husband, you know, at the time, I was like, you've got to get me out of here. And so we went to another part of the funeral home, and it felt like everything was so loud in my head. And I had to get away from that. And I just fell apart. Yeah. I could not function. And so for about a year after that, I was just in a depression and I never even realized that's what it was, but I was just so sad. My dad wasn't here anymore, and it was probably the hardest time that I ever had to go through. It was extremely difficult, and this was like May. So his birthday was in June. It was the May before his birthday that he passed. And I remember that Christmas, I didn't go with my now husband. I didn't go with him home. My girls were with their dad, and I was just all by myself. It's like I wanted to be by myself. But I remember in that moment, and you kind of talked about this in another podcast, that for a split second, it's like, I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah. And it was just so quiet, and I just felt horrible. And it's like, how do you pull yourself out of that? And so it took me about a year.
Did you get any help for that? Did you talk to anybody?
No, I pretty much, I think, suffered in silence. And I think even, you know, we talked about this before, even as close as we are, it's like you want to reach out, but for some reason you can't. It's not that you don't. It's like something keeps you from reaching out. And I just was functioning the best I could.
Looking back now and what you know now of different things, do you think you should have reached out to somebody?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I should have reached out even when I didn't want to. It's like push through it and just have somebody. And I think being a single mom at the time, it was like you're just trying to push through, focus on work, focus on your kids, whatever. So that was kind of your therapy, but it really wasn't dealing with it. And so how I got out of that, which is kind of weird, is it was 4 days before the anniversary of his passing. And I, for whatever reason, was like, I'm sad because my dad died. It all of a sudden was like this epiphany moment where I kind of realized if my dad was looking down on me, how sad would he be that I was sad? And why would I be sad? He's in heaven with his other family members. He's free of Parkinson's. And
but there was other stuff going on too.
Yeah, there was other things.
Too,
yeah.
So that was probably the main thing. But, you know, one thing after another, a person can really only take so much.
Right. Yeah. And it was like a breaking point. And then all of a sudden it's like I just woke up the next day and I went, oh. And it felt like a burden or whatever I was carrying, this weight of being so sad. I'm like, Daddy would never want me to be this sad. But yet I struggled for a year, and then, you know, divine interventions, whatever you want to call it, karma, you know, angels. It was all of a sudden like, Daddy wants me to be happy, whatever that's going to be. Yeah. And so I'm not going to be sad anymore because he's happy where he's at. And so, but
that's
the struggle.
It took you just a year. A lot of people, they still go through it even, you know, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever.
Yeah. And I think it's just, grief is messy. Grief hits you at all kinds of different times. And during that time, that depression time, I was watching all these horrible movies. Horrible, scary, horror, demonic. I mean, like Paranormal Activity. I know we just had Halloween and stuff. But it was like a very oppressed, suffocating darkness is, I guess, the best way I could describe it. And so, yeah, it just took time. I struggled a lot longer than I needed to. So if anybody's going through that, reach out to somebody and just say, you know, whatever it is, just, I need somebody just to sit with me and hold my hand. Don't say anything. I just need you to sit on the couch with me or take a walk with me, you know.
For sure. If, you know, I have a friend. She's kind of a long distance friend. I met several years ago. She's in the same industry I am. And she was recently diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And she lives in another state. And again, we're kind of more like social media friends, you know. But she's going through it. You know, she's a tough cookie. And today she posted something about, you know, she's very authentic in the way that she wants to talk about what she's going through, and she wants people to accept what the diagnosis has been given to her, which is stage 4 cancer. And trust me, she's fighting it big time. And you know, she's been doing pretty well. She kind of goes back and forth with different treatments and stuff, but she knows where this can lead to, right? And today she was talking about just that, acceptance. You know, when people tell you they have cancer, they don't want you to feel sorry for them or, you know, cry for them or you know, say it's going to be okay or whatever. It's more of like, just accept that this is happening. And if I'm sad that day, let me be sad. If I'm happy, let me be happy, you know. But just don't ignore it and don't try to sugarcoat it. That's like the worst of it all. So, so speaking of cancer, we have dealt with a lot of cancer in our lifetime. I did a whole episode on my husband passing away from sarcoma, which is cancer of the bones. And then my mother passed away from liver cancer. Not long ago, a couple of years ago, and our moms happened to pass away a few days from each other, but different years, right? Mine was 23, yours
was 20, so November 3rd, and your mom is November 8th.
So, you know, the past several years, we've had our closest people to us leave us, you know, and it has not been easy. However they go, my husband, it was 7 months I had him after he was diagnosed. My mom was 10 days. So it was awful regardless of how long it was, you know. I think, strangely enough, some of my friends and even some of my family members learned what needs to be done because they saw what we went through. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about that too. But first, I want to give you some stats I found about cancer patients. I looked this up, you know, just kind of a ballpark figure, but people that will get cancer from breast cancer yearly is about 650,000 will get breast cancer. Yep. Just in a year.
I didn't realize it was that big a number.
Yes. And just in 2025, we will lose about 42,000 people to breast cancer. Yep. Lung cancer is another one. We'll have about 125,000 people that will get that. Prostate cancer, we're looking at 350,000 people.
Wow, it's so common now.
Uterine cancer, we're looking at about 70,000 people. Liver cancer, 700,000 people.
Wow.
And I mean, it's not only alcohol that hits your liver. My mother she used to drink like a glass of wine here and there for dinner or whatever. She wasn't a raging alcoholic or anything like that. she had liver cancer, and it's what we're eating, what we're putting in our body, medications, all that kind of stuff. And as far as sarcoma, 5,420 people.
Wow.
So think of those stats.
Yeah.
We're not the lucky ones. I mean, just think about it. All those people that died, but we were in this tiny, tiny amount, population of the chosen ones, I guess, Yeah. So, and it is very rare, and it's very hard to treat sarcoma because, when it hits those bones, you can start putting pieces of metal or whatever, but when you have your whole spinal cord, you can't replace your whole spinal cord, and that's what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a little bit longer. We were able, when Rob passed away, or when he was diagnosed with stage 4 sarcoma, we didn't know anything about it. I did a lot of research. I looked at trials and stuff like that, because it was so rare that there wasn't a whole lot of medication for it. You could do, if it was just in one spot, we could have done because it was so much of his body. The chemo wasn't helping, the radiation was helping, so I was looking for trials, like anything. We'll try anything. What stage 1, stage 2 of trials? We were trying them here. I was willing to fly him anywhere in the world too to get help for that. And we did some trials here, but because he was pretty coherent and aware of what was going on, we had to get affairs in order. And I think a lot of our family members and friends saw what we went through, really opened their eyes to like, oh my God, it can happen to anybody at any time. So people started getting their affairs in order. Some people that had been like living together for a few years or whatever said, maybe we should get married, even though they were probably going to get married anyways. They're just like, because when you're not married, it's so much harder to be that person to help with all the paperwork, whatever, unless you have some legal documents. And I do want to talk about all that. But we were able to get things in order. People that didn't have, documents like wills or whatever, they started getting those together. If they had them updated. It is so, so important. And I really do want to talk about that to have people understand which document is what and what you need. But yeah, so it was neither my mom nor Rob's death was easy on us. Rob's was I wouldn't say the worst, but he was supposed to be my partner in life, and my mom's was really hard because it was so fast. But then all the craziness that happened with it, I would love to say that my mom passed away and we were there with her, but she wasn't the person that I know deep down in my heart she was. And it could have been the sickness, it could have been anger, it could have been resentment, whatever she had in her at the time. It was really difficult. So yeah, either way, she had her affairs in order for the most part because of what she saw me and Rob go through. So
yeah, I think the best gift you can give to your family is to have your affairs in order. With my mom and my dad, they had paid for their plots decades ago. Everything was paid for. They had everything in their will, what they wanted, the type of service they wanted. And so by the time everything was said and done, so when my mom passed, my dad had even put in the funeral home instructions that he wanted this amount of money to go to flowers for my mom. So he had already planned advance when my mom passed away. So by the time everything was said and done, I think our bill for all the expenses was like $20 because my mom and dad had paid for everything. We didn't have to make any decisions. And when you're in that state of mind, they say don't make rational decisions with an emotional mind.
Right.
And there was something kind of peaceful, that it was exactly what they wanted when they passed, and we didn't have to struggle with those decisions. So I think nobody wants to talk about this kind of stuff. Nobody wants to go, oh, I need to go get my will in order, because then what is that? You're talking about your death, right? Nobody wants to talk about that, because we all feel like we're going to live till we're 112 or something.
Exactly.
But it's important for your kids, for your family, aunts, uncles, whoever it is, to have all that in order, so nothing is second guessed, and it's everything that you would want to be able to express if you could in those times where you can't. So I think it's a good thing if people, proactively do that, even if you don't want to.
Exactly. No, nobody really wants to think, oh, I'm going to die. Some people are just like, I don't care. And when I die, I don't care. You can do whatever you want with me, or we can. It's really not that easy. They can't do whatever they want with you by law. And I'm glad you brought up the cost, because let me give you some figures.
It's expensive.
So an average funeral cost right now about anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000. Okay. And a burial, now a funeral, there's different things. There's the funeral where you go and you have the church and, or whatever you're going to say, here's this person, they passed away, blah, blah, blah. Whether it's a priest, a pastor, whatever, somebody's saying something over. That's your funeral, right? With the casket and all that. Then you have the burial part of it, where they if you're going to be buried into the ground with your casket, that costs another amount. And the casket costs money too.
Yeah, the caskets are.
So the burial is anywhere from $7,000 to $20,000 right now. And so you have your funeral, you have your burial, and then the burial usually includes the casket and stuff like that. And then there's sometimes other fees, like closing the casket and the metal thing it's in. If you're saying, well, I'm not going to be buried, I'm going to be cremated. Okay, that's fine. You still have to pay for that. A funeral cremation is going for about $6,200 right now. And that burial, if you're going to go into a mausoleum, or, sometimes people will just take you home and that's fine. But if you are going to go somewhere, like maybe you have your other family buried or whatnot, that is costing anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000 on top of the cremation.
So more than a wedding.
It really is. And people really don't kind of think about that ahead of time. They're just like, oh, my insurance will cover that. My life insurance. Well, you know what? You don't get your life insurance, or the people who you've left it to, they don't get it till like almost 30 days after you're buried. And you have to have a death certificate. So all of that has to happen before an insurance company is going to pay out what they're going to pay out. So they don't have that money. They have to come up with it somewhere. So, again, we were fortunate enough to put all that into play. We got picked out the casket, and we picked out our burial site. We picked out the little plot thing, because you have to pay for that and design that. And then, we had everything done in one place, one funeral home. Some people decide to do it like at a church and then go to the burial place, whatever. Sometimes even those churches ask you for like a donation for the priest or whoever's gonna, do the service for you.
And I think
food.
Yeah, and I think there's even, if you want a police escort, I believe there's a cost to that. To and from like the church to the cemetery. That's what my parents wanted. It is, and it's like, to me, I can do a little bitching since I'm thinking about this, is nothing. And I don't know if I don't remember it really being talked about like in driver's ed now. It really wasn't brought up with my girls. I don't really remember talking about it with them. But I remember it was a courtesy thing. When you saw a funeral procession, you pulled off to the side of the road, even if you were on the other side of the road, and you waited to pay respects. It was like it didn't matter who it was. Pay respect. These people are grieving. And I can remember, so mad, when my grandma had passed away many years ago, we were doing the little processional, and there was some young teenage girl that went flying by us on the same side of the road. But when she got to the front of the line, that cop in the front pulled her right over, gave her a ticket, and I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
You know, I don't. No, you cannot be in that much of a hurry that you can't pull over for a couple. I mean, it's literally like a minute, right? So anyway, that's a little bitch I have about that. It's just it's it's a grieving thing, and just be respectful.
I know.
You know. So
I hear
anyway,
you.
little squirrel moment there, but yeah,
that makes. I mean, people don't stop for school buses, and
it's
you know, I see when I'm driving and I see people flying through like school zones. I'm like, what? Why are you in such a hurry that you could possibly hit a kid? You know. So I get you
just
on that.
Respect.
So some of the things that I did want to talk about were documents that people may or may not know about. A will. Let's talk about that a little bit. Did your parents have a will?
Yes, they had a will, and I'm pretty sure they revised it a few times. I'd actually got a copy. I never even looked at it. It was like a living will, but I know like it probably changed because the kid, we all grew up and everybody got married or whatever and things. But there wasn't money to be handed out or whatever. Anything that we had from Daddy went to Mama, and then all of hers was used for her care. So it wasn't like life insurance or anything like that. It was just kind of stuff to do. But she would already kind of she would have antiques, and she would put stickers on the bottom of them and it say, for Stephanie or my other sisters and brothers. That because if you don't have a will and have things designated for who you want to have things, there are horror stories of the kids, whoever, the random cousin that was 18 years ago at Thanksgiving wants whatever that car set or record set, whatever.
So crazy. They come out of the woodwork.
Yes,
they really do.
It's really, really ugly. So whatever you want, you want for your kids or whoever, put it in a will. Again, that just makes it easier, because otherwise the state gets involved. And
let's talk about that. So a will is a document that is designated to whomever or however many people of what that person who's going to die wants to leave them. So if you want to leave this card to somebody and it's written in that will signed by that person, then that card is given to that person. If this card is not in there, then you and I can fight over it, but then we would have to go to probate court over this piece of paper.
Such a mess.
Right? So get a will. You can go online or even in I think Staples or something, but online they have free wills that you can just auto-populate. You put down what you want to write and whatever, and then print it out. Very, very easy. And you can update it as you need. But it also allows you to designate what you want to leave and who you want to leave it to. Even with the will, people can try to fight you for stuff, but if you have that paper, that would definitely help. The other thing is a trust. So we had a will. We had several trusts because he had daughters, and then other things. So a trust is basically another legal arrangement that is set up by the person who is going to die or pass away, and they assign like an executor to say, okay, I want you to be over this trust, and I want you to give away what needs to be given away. So you are. If this executor is to die with me, then there's another assignment to somebody else, right? And so it kind of goes down the chain like that. But it's all in legal documents, legal writing, saying that this is what you're going to get, and if there are minor children, then they can say, okay, we will hold this for you till you're 18 or 21 or whatever. You can just designate so much more stuff. And it's not necessarily the kids. I leave my coat to the kid and the kid is 5 years old. This is somebody of age that can help with that. So that's a trust. A living will is also a document that is given to more medical.
Right.
So if you're dying and you want to give me want me to have a living will or be your living will person, then I can make medical decisions for you if you are incapacitated. So if you can't speak, if you're in a coma or whatever. But that is only while you're living. The minute you die, that goes away.
Right.
So that's where the trust or the will has to come in. Power of attorney is also a legal document that not only gives me, if you're giving it to me, not only gives me the right to make medical decisions, but I can also make financial decisions for you. And then, so if you don't have any of those documents, it is extremely difficult for your loved ones to get what they want, get what you would like them to have. I mean, you can just write it on a piece of paper if you want and sign it. But just look at that. If you have kids especially, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 25, you're 35, 45, 55. I would sit down and really look at what you have right now and say, who will take care of my children? How will we be buried? You know, just get an idea of what your family should do, because when you do die, your family is grieving, like you mentioned, and they're not in a state of mind to make all these decisions and how are we going to pay for this and what do I do with the kids and what did they want with the kids? Or, have a discussion with your family, even just a discussion to start something out with and say, I would like for you to be, the guardian of my children, or I would like you to have this car, or whatever it is, It's not what a lot of people want to discuss, but it is super, super important. And when you are thinking about cremation, burial, whatever, they have payment plans.
Right.
They do. It's kind of like an insurance
That's
that they take out.
That's what my parents did on theirs. They paid every month until it was paid for.
Yeah. It's like that. You pay for life insurance, you can pay for that, and a little bit at a time, and then it's paid off, and your kids don't have to worry about coming up with $25,000 to bury you,
Right.
And so like I said, with Rob, we dotted our I's and crossed our T's 100% on everything. That didn't change people coming out of the woodworks for different things, but I had everything documented, and we had to. My mom was a little different. Like, I guess we thought she had something going. We thought she was leaving stuff to certain people like me and my sisters, and she had totally changed her mind. I think because she was mad at us or something, which was so fucking petty.
Right.
But she changed her mind at the last minute, so she left us nothing.
Wow.
But a lot of storage stuff that I have, which I'm happy to have it, but it really took a toll on our family. It really did. I don't even know. Let me see. There's 2, 3, 5. There's probably 9 grandchildren, and now there's 3 great-grandchildren. At the time, there was only 2, but she didn't leave anything to anybody but 2 people.
Right.
And we all just kind of went like, what?
Yeah.
And, it wasn't that she had to leave anybody anything. She didn't have to leave us money. She didn't have to leave us any. But the fact is that there was so many grandchildren that, we're just kind of like, what's happening?
I think it's more of trying to understand her thought process behind that. And because you don't have an opportunity to ask, it leaves it very open to assume. And I would think resentment and other things can kind of come out of that because you start dwelling on it like, I don't understand. And then, of course, it goes through all the stages of grief and everything. Now you're mad or all kinds of stuff. So, it doesn't make any sense. And I think, like you mentioned, it's like have a conversation, even if you're going to change something. And it's like, I might not like what's changed, but at least I understand what's coming, so it doesn't hit me in the face at the wrong time when I'm trying to just grieve.
Yes.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that we understood some documents, and then, those stats are pretty high. We really need to start taking care of our bodies.
Right.
I know we have our little glasses of wine and stuff, but if you are drinking more than 1 little glass of wine a day, kind of think about that. not only for your future, but your family's future.
Right.
My sisters are smokers. They will never give up smoking. They just won't. And that's just them. But I always say, are you going to be okay? Is that all right? Well, you know, and you can't tell them to quit because they won't,
Right.
you know. I know some people go to the other extreme where it's like they have to make all their food themselves, you know,
Right.
and everything's got to be organic and homegrown and all that. So, you know, you got to find that happy medium in there, I think.
Right.
And make sure you're getting checkups and going
Yeah.
to the doctor, and don't put things off. Because,
Right.
again, my mom, it was 10 days. She had a
Yeah.
stomach ache and she was gone.
Yeah.
So,
My family member that I mentioned earlier that passed away today, it was very similar to your situation. Not quite 10 days, but a hair, little more, maybe
Yeah.
a week or more. And, you know, I'm not going to ask them, let them tell me whatever, you
Right.
know. And, but still, it just is, even with Rob, it was kind of like, what? You
Yeah.
know, it just all of a sudden it's to that point, and it's like, how did it go that fast? And you know, there's all types of cancers and things, but you know, I don't understand why some are slower, some are so aggressive that it happens to like your mom, and then you know, my relative. It's just, yeah, I think that's a hard thing to understand when you're trying to find a higher purpose in
Right,
things.
right.
It's like, why? It just,
Right.
I don't understand that, but you know, I don't think you can ever understand or be okay with when it's anybody's time to go.
Nope.
I think whether it's quick or it's slow, that when that day comes, it's a difficult day.
Yeah.
You know, so like with my dad, I went through that whole time frame, but with my mom, it was a little bit different because my mom was ready to go after my dad passed.
Oh, yeah.
And she, at the drop of a hat, which is understandable, would just look at something and just all of a sudden be in tears. Whenever we had a family event, she was always in tears, and she was ready to go. So when it came time, she had Alzheimer's, and at the end, I was with her at the very end. Me and my two sisters were with her when she passed, but it was one of those where I wasn't as upset because Mama wanted to be with Daddy,
Yeah.
and she didn't have Alzheimer's anymore. And that, if anybody's ever seen anybody with Alzheimer's, that's just it's
dad
hard.
had it.
Yeah, it's hard to watch that. And you know, my mom towards the end didn't even recognize me. She looked at me like I was a total stranger and didn't even want to talk to me, and that was gut wrenching. But when she passed, I was more at peace because she was with Daddy. So it's like I had, you know, experience when my dad passed, but then when my mom was reunited with him, it was like, I don't want to say I'm happy she's gone, because I'm not, you know, in a selfish way, I want her to be here. But at the same time, I was like, I just picture them just so happy together. And it's like, I never went through being upset. I did have my moments. I go out to the cemetery for their anniversary, their birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, all the big Christmas, everything. And now I talk to them and I don't fall apart anymore, because some people can't go to the cemetery or whatever. Some people don't want to go, but I feel like when I'm there, I just have happy things to tell them, and you know, and so it's changed from being just in that emotional raw place all the time to just feeling I can feel their spirit there, and I'm glad to go to the cemetery now. You know, and
it's interesting because everybody's a little different with cemeteries. Because you know, I go to see Rob all the time, and then you know, now my mom is right by your parents, which is kind of crazy.
That's interesting. Your parents are by my parents. They're like neighbors.
Yes, but and I go see her when you know, but and my oldest sister goes as well, but my one other sister, she's like, Mom's not there, so she doesn't like to go to the cemetery. She has a different relationship afterwards with, you know, that, and she talks to her, like we all talk to her. Like I've been having so many dreams about her recently. It's very strange. I don't know why, but she's always just there with me, and and so, or my little signs, I have all my little signs. Rob's my ladybug. If I see ladybugs, then that means Rob is with me. And I'll tell you a funny story, because I know I'm jumping around everywhere, but we were at church last week, and I was not that thrilled with the service because the junior pastor, was talking about angels and demons, and he was saying that people aren't angels, that's a myth, and blah, blah, blah. And he was saying that, when they go to heaven or they're with God, they're not here. They're not with you anymore. They're not going to want to come back down here. He's saying all this crazy shit. And I was like, stop talking, because I don't believe that. I believe that they're still with you. They, their souls might be there, but they're still with you. They watch over. I do. Yeah. So back to my little ladybugs. Anytime I see a ladybug, Rob's there, right? And most recently, my son was buying a truck, and what was in the front, just flew in out of nowhere, a ladybug. Right on his dash. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, it was so weird. It just came out of nowhere, And then, and so I was like, that's a sign. He's telling us this is the right thing to do right now, and this is where you're going. He's watching over us. And then, I know I got to say, but after we did our podcast, our Halloween podcast, we had a really great time. We had fun. And I go downstairs to my laptop, and on top of my laptop is a ladybug. Yeah. A ladybug.
Somebody get in here. Look at this. Do you see this?
I'm like, it's right here. Yeah. And my husband's like, I didn't do it. My son was not here. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was just there on my laptop out of nowhere. And I was like, this is so crazy. But I believe in all that stuff. And so when we were talking about the cemetery, some people don't like cemeteries, and they're like, no, I'm not going there. They're not there. They're just with me. And that's okay. Everybody's a little different, and you do what you feel is right. Not everybody goes to church to pray. You can pray at home. You can pray in the park. Right. You can pray at your desk, whatever, And some people, I would prefer to go to church, and, to each his own. Yeah. However it works for you,
It's interesting. You talk about signs. So before I married my husband, and I had another house, where me and my girls lived, and in the, I don't know exactly what it was, but in the middle of the night I would wake up, and I always thought I saw some kind of shadow up in the corner. But it was one of those where I wasn't quite sure if it was the scary dream or what, because you kind of get that paralysis, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't want to look. What is this? It's like this shadowy figure. But ever since I've been married to since we got back together, and especially married now, I don't see that anymore.
Oh,
and
really?
So I almost feel like, at the time it was kind of scary, because it looks like an apparition or something, but I haven't had that anymore. So
maybe it was Daddy.
Yes, and so I choose to believe that my dad was with me. He might have been worried or something in that moment. Yeah. But now that he can see I'm happy and I'm in a healthy relationship for the first time in my life, that he can finally, cross over or whatever. It's kind of like the movie Ghost.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
God. I cry. Yeah. Every time I see that. I love that movie. And I was thinking of actually watching it. The ladybug thing is too much, know. And I was thinking of watching it because it really does. I think the moment where Patrick Swayze is going up to the light, and he says to her, it's amazing, this love, you take it with you. Yeah, you
take it with you.
And I start crying, because it is. Yeah. I believe that. I truly, truly believe, and I believe that we will see them again. We will be with them again. And, if you guys haven't seen this yet, you got to take a look on the internet. But there is a new movie coming out called The Eternity, I think.
We need to watch that together.
And it's with the girl from WandaVision. I forgot her name, but the girl from WandaVision, and then the guy Miles Teller, right?
And he's in Top Gun.
The Maverick one. So it's the two of them, and I guess they're married, and they've been married for a really long time, and they die, and then they go to heaven or wherever, and they're like, oh my God, we've been waiting for you. This is great. She's like, oh, he's like, now we can have our whole life together, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, her first husband shows up, and says, I've been waiting 50 years for you, because he must have like died in the war or something.
Right.
So now she has to choose who she wants to be with in eternity.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to both win her back over. And I'm like, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I really can. I mean, I don't know. Robert and I could be married, 50 years. Who knows? 40 years. And then I go up there and Rob's up there. I know they both have the same name. Don't even give me shit about it. But I can go to heaven and there he is. And, so it hasn't come out yet, but we'll pop it up here. So
yeah, my husband wants to be cremated, and I never thought about being cremated before. And so, but when I go visit my mom and dad, I always think they slept in the same beds. I said, they should be in the same casket. I know you can't do that, but I'm like, they're alone by them. Even though they're side by side, they're in their each caskets, and I don't like that. Yeah. So I've thought about, leaning more towards cremation, because if he gets cremated, or am I going to be, I don't want to be buried by myself in a hole where he's not there. So to me, it's like, I would like either our ashes to be spread together somewhere, or we're in urns, we're put together in a mausoleum or something. Mm-hmm. I just feel there's something peaceful about that instead of just being buried in the ground. And I never thought about that before. I just, always thought you'd be buried in the ground.
There's a couple of different things in our family too, because we've had those discussions. My mom and my dad were both cremated. Mm-hmm. But my dad died first. He died in 2012, I guess it was, 11 or 12. And my sister held on to him when he got cremated. And then when my mom passed away, she wanted to be buried with him. Mm-hmm. So she was cremated because she wanted to be cremated. So they were both cremated. And then there's a box or boxes, they're like little boxes, mm-hmm. like little caskets that you can put the ashes and stuff in. And they were buried together in the plot. So there's so many different ways you can do things. We all have a little bit of their ashes. I have my sister was so wonderful. She gave me a little heart necklace that had both of my parents' ashes in it, and so I have that with me, and she has some too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The whole ash thing is very strange to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. It's like you're really gone. You're really gone. Like, there's no more you. There's no more bones. Right. There's no more nothing. And you're just, when people spread the ashes in the ocean or whatever, I'm just like, you're non-existent anymore. Not that you are when you're, when you die. It's just so weird to me. Yeah. So I don't want to be cremated. I want to be buried on top of Rob.
Well, and I used to think, even though I'm not going to be here anymore, there's something about the whole process of that freaks me out. That's why I haven't quite decided. I'm like, I ain't here anymore, but that just kind of bothers me. Still, I don't know. I go back and forth all the time, but I still think in the end I will probably be cremated, just because I know that's what my husband wants, and I don't want to be away from whatever's left of him that's tangible. Even if it is ash, it's still a tangible thing, right? So, I don't know. We'll see, but it's a hard one.
Do you have anything else? I think we're going to wrap it up. This was a deep, dark discussion. This is the Day of the Dead. Isn't that during Halloween?
Yes. So I think that the biggest thing is just, have the discussions, even though they're difficult, so that everything is easy when the time comes. And if you have a loved one that passes and you're struggling, reach out to somebody.
Absolutely. There's so much help. I do want to wrap it up, but I just, when you said that, people kept on saying to me, places, go to church, and there's grief places you can talk to, or people you can talk to, or go see a therapist, or whatever. And I couldn't stop crying for the longest time, but I said, all right, fine, I'll go to this grief place at a church or whatever. And I went, and I cried even more, because all they did was talk about it. And then they want you to talk about it. And you tell, why are you here? What's making you sad? And it's like, you just have to relive all of it. And I would just cry. And I'm like, I can't do it. So I think I went like 3 weeks, and I was like, this is not for me. So you just have to find what works for you. Is it trying to keep your mind busy with work? Is it trying to make a hobby and go, let me just plant some stuff or whatever? Let me crochet. Let me go work on some wood or something and chop whatever and make a chair or whatever. Or do I need to speak to somebody, a therapist, and just kind of let it all out and figure out where do I go from here?
Right.
Or your friends or your family, you know, just find somebody, because when you start keeping it in, it gets dangerous.
Well, it does make you unhealthy. Your body will start to suffer, and then that's a whole nother issue. You're sick and other things like that.
For sure.
But yeah, definitely reach out to whoever or whatever you need to, you know, to help you get through, because there's another side to that. You know, eventually, I guess you find your peace, whatever your peace is, to get there. So
go day by day.
Yeah.
Well, we just wanted to, I guess, moan a little bit about our little sadness, and I'm sorry for your passing of your family member. We will have a little more upbeat one next week for you guys. We hope you enjoyed, maybe even found out some information that you didn't know before about this topic. And we will, and our merch store is coming up.
Yes,
so
very soon.
Very soon. So we got a little sweatshirt. So we're going to leave you with that. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay. Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.